The soldiers stand in silence, their weapons ready, their eyes fixed on the Ark of the Covenant at the very front of the line. Before them rise the towering walls of Jericho, impenetrable, terrifying. The priests lift their trumpets. A single blast cuts the air, then another. Step by step, Israel marches around the city. The enemy watches from the walls, mocking, waiting. But Israel isn't here to fight with swords. They are waiting for Yahweh himself to act, for the Ark of the Covenant to move before them, for the walls of the mighty city to fall. And when they do, it will be only the beginning. Because as astonishing as this moment is, it is nothing compared to everything else we are about to see. This is the complete story of the Book of Joshua. After Moses died, Yahweh spoke to Joshua son of Nun, Moses' attendant. "My servant Moses is gone. Now rise up, lead this people across the Jordan into the land I am giving them. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads I have given you, just as I promised Moses. From the wilderness and the Lebanon to the great river, the Euphrates, to the limits of the Hittite nations and to the great sea toward the west. This whole land shall be yours. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you or forsake you. Be strong and courageous. You shall cause this people to inherit the land I swore to their fathers. Be careful to obey the whole law that Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left. Let this book of the law always be on your lips. Meditate in it day and night, so that you may act wisely and prosper in all you do. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid or dismayed, for Yahweh your Elohim is with you wherever you go." Joshua called the officers of the people and ordered them, "Go through the camp and tell the people to get their provisions ready. In 3 days you will cross the Jordan to take possession of the land Yahweh your Elohim is giving you." He then reminded the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh of Moses' charge. "Remember the word Moses, the servant of Yahweh, gave you. Yahweh your Elohim has given you rest and this land. Your wives, children, and livestock may remain in the land Moses assigned you east of the Jordan. But you must cross over armed ahead of your brothers, all the warriors, and help them until Yahweh gives them rest as he has given you. Then you may return and occupy the land allotted to you." They answered Joshua without hesitation, "Whatever you command us we will do, and wherever you send us we will go. Just as we obeyed Moses, so we will obey you. May Yahweh be with you, as he was with Moses. Only may anyone who rebels against your command and does not obey your words be put to death. Be strong and courageous." Thus, Joshua was commissioned, the people pledged their allegiance, and the nation stood ready to follow him into the promise. Joshua sent 2 men secretly from Shittim to spy out the land, especially Jericho. They entered the house of a woman named Rahab, a prostitute, and stayed there. News quickly reached the king of Jericho. "Men from Israel have come tonight to search out the land." He sent word to Rahab, "Bring out the men who came to you, who entered your house, for they have come to spy out the whole land." But Rahab had hidden them. She told the king's messengers, "Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. At nightfall, when the gate was closing, they left. I do not know where they went. Pursue them quickly and you will overtake them." In truth, she had taken them to her roof and concealed them beneath stalks of flax. The pursuers hurried toward the fords of the Jordan, and once they had gone out, the gate of the city was shut. Before the spies lay down for the night, Rahab went up to them on the roof and said, "I know Yahweh has given you the land, and that dread of you has fallen upon us. All the inhabitants of the land melt in fear because of you. We have heard how Yahweh dried up the waters of the Sea of Reeds before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the Amorite kings across the Jordan, whom you utterly destroyed. When we heard it, our hearts melted, and courage failed in every man. For Yahweh your Elohim, He is Elohim in heaven above and on the earth beneath. Now swear to me by Yahweh, since I have shown you kindness, that you also will show kindness to my father's house. Spare my father, my mother, my brothers, my sisters, and all that belong to them. Deliver us from death." The men answered, "Our life for yours. If you do not betray us, then when Yahweh gives us the land, we will deal kindly and faithfully with you." She let them down by a rope through her window, for her house was built into the city wall. She told them, "Go to the hill country, hide there 3 days until the pursuers return, then go on your way." The spies said to her, "We will be released from the oath you made us swear, unless you do this. When we come into the land, tie this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down. Gather into your house your father, your mother, your brothers, and all your family. Anyone who goes outside your house, his blood will be on his own head. We are innocent, but whoever stays with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head if anyone harms him. Yet if you tell this matter, we are free from the oath you made us swear." She replied, "According to your words, so be it." She sent them away and tied the scarlet cord in her window. The spies went to the hill country and hid for 3 days until the pursuers returned. They searched all along the road but did not find them. Then the 2 men came back, crossed the Jordan, and reported to Joshua, "Truly, Yahweh has given all the land into our hands, and all the inhabitants melt away before us." Joshua rose early in the morning, and he and all Israel set out from Shittim. They camped by the Jordan, waiting before they crossed. After 3 days, the officers went through the camp, instructing the people, "When you see the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, your Elohim carried by the Levitical priests, set out and follow it. But keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits between you and it. Do not come near, so that you may know the way you must go, for you have not passed this way before." Joshua said to the people, "Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow Yahweh will do wonders among you." He commanded the priests, "Take up the ark of the covenant and go before the people." And they carried it and went ahead. Then Yahweh said to Joshua, "This day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, so that they will know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Command the priests, when you reach the edge of the waters of the Jordan, stand still in the river." Joshua spoke to the Israelites, "Come here and hear the words of Yahweh your Elohim. By this you will know that the living El is among you, and that he will drive out before you the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth will go before you into the Jordan. Now choose 12 men, 1 from each tribe. And when the soles of the feet of the priests who carry the ark of Yahweh rest in the Jordan, its waters flowing from above shall be cut off and stand up in a heap." When the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the ark went ahead of them. As they reached the river, with the Jordan overflowing its banks at harvest time, the waters coming down from above stood still. They piled up in a great heap far away, at a city called Adam near Zarethan, while the waters flowing down to the salt sea were completely cut off. So the people crossed opposite Jericho. The priests carrying the ark of the covenant of Yahweh stood firmly on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan while all Israel passed by, until the entire nation had finished crossing over on dry ground. When the entire nation had finished crossing the Jordan, Yahweh spoke to Joshua, "Take 12 men, one from each tribe. Command them to take 12 stones from the very place where the priests stand in the Jordan, and carry them over to your lodging place tonight." So Joshua called the 12 men he had appointed, one from each tribe. He said to them, "Go before the ark of Yahweh your Elohim, into the middle of the Jordan. Each of you shall lift a stone upon your shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of Israel. These will serve as a sign among you. When your children in time to come ask, 'What do these stones mean to you?' you shall tell them, 'The waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of Yahweh's covenant. When it crossed, the waters stopped. These stones are a memorial to the people of Israel forever." The men did as Joshua commanded. They took 12 stones from the Jordan, one for each tribe, and brought them to their camp, where they set them down. Joshua himself set up 12 other stones in the middle of the Jordan, at the very place where the priests who carried the ark had stood. Those stones remain there to this day. All the while the priests stood in the riverbed carrying the ark of the covenant, until everything Yahweh commanded Joshua was completed. The people hurried across, and when all had finished, the priests themselves came up out of the Jordan, carrying the ark before the people. The men of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, about 40,000 armed for battle, also crossed ahead of the others, ready for war on the plains of Jericho, just as Moses had commanded them. On that day, Yahweh exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel. They revered him as they had revered Moses all the days of his life. Then Yahweh said to Joshua, "Command the priests who carry the ark of the testimony to come up from the Jordan." So Joshua ordered the priests, and when they came up from the riverbed and set their feet upon dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place, flowing as before over all its banks. The people came up from the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and camped at Gilgal on the eastern border of Jericho. There Joshua set up the 12 stones taken from the Jordan. He told the Israelites, "When your children in times to come ask their fathers, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them, 'Israel crossed this Jordan on dry ground. For Yahweh, your Elohim, dried up the waters of the Jordan before you until you crossed over, just as he dried up the sea of reeds before us until we crossed. He did this so that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of Yahweh is mighty, and that you may fear Yahweh your Elohim forever." When all the kings of the Amorites west of the Jordan and the kings of the Canaanites by the sea heard how Yahweh had dried up the waters of the Jordan before Israel until they had crossed, their hearts melted. No spirit remained in them because of the presence of the sons of Israel. At that time Yahweh said to Joshua, "Make flint knives for yourself and circumcise the sons of Israel again a second time." So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the people at the place called Gibeath-Haraloth, the hill of foreskins. For all the men who came out of Egypt, the warriors, had died in the wilderness along the way. They had been circumcised, but those born in the wilderness after the Exodus had not. For 40 years, the people had wandered until the whole generation of warriors who did not heed Yahweh's voice had perished. To them, Yahweh had sworn that they would not see the land he promised to their fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. But he raised up their sons in their place, and it was they whom Joshua circumcised, for they had not been circumcised on the way. When the whole nation had been circumcised, they remained in their camp until they recovered. Then Yahweh said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you." So the place was called Gilgal, rolled away, to this day. While the people of Israel camped at Gilgal, they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month in the evening, in the plains of Jericho. On the day after the Passover, they ate from the produce of the land, unleavened bread and roasted grain. From that very day, the manna ceased. There was no longer manna for the people of Israel, but that year they ate from the yield of the land of Canaan. As Joshua was near Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and saw a man standing before him, sword drawn in his hand. Joshua went to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our adversaries?" The figure replied, "Neither. I am the commander of Yahweh's army. Now I have come." Then Joshua fell on his face to the ground in worship and asked, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" The commander of Yahweh's army answered, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy." And Joshua did so. Meanwhile, Jericho was tightly shut, its gates locked because of the presence of Israel. None went out and none came in. Then Yahweh said to Joshua, "See, I have given Jericho into your hand, its king and its warriors of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war circling it once. Do this for 6 days. 7 priests shall carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. When they make a long blast on the ram's horn, and you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout. Then the wall of the city shall fall down beneath it, and the people shall go up, every man straight before him." So Joshua, son of Nun, called the priests and said, "Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests carry 7 trumpets before Yahweh's ark." He ordered the people, "Advance, march around the city, and let the armed guard go before the ark of Yahweh." The 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets advanced, blowing them continually, with the ark of Yahweh following. The armed guard marched ahead of the priests, and the rear guard followed behind, all while the trumpets sounded without ceasing. Joshua commanded the people, "You shall not shout or let your voice be heard. Not a word shall come from your mouth until the day I tell you, 'Shout,' then you shall shout." So the ark of Yahweh circled the city once. Then they returned to camp for the night. Joshua rose early the next morning, and again the priests took up the ark of Yahweh. The 7 priests marched before it, blowing the trumpets continually, with the armed guard ahead and the rear guard behind. Once more they circled the city and returned to camp. For 6 days they did this. On the 7th day they rose at dawn and marched around the city in the same way, but this time 7 times. On the 7th circuit, as the priests blew the trumpets, Joshua commanded the people, "Shout, for Yahweh has given you the city. The city and all within it shall be devoted to Yahweh for destruction. Only Rahab the prostitute shall live, she and all who are with her in her house, because she hid the messengers we sent. But keep away from the devoted things, lest you bring trouble on Israel. All silver and gold and articles of bronze and iron are holy to Yahweh and shall go into his treasury." So when the priests blew the trumpets, the people shouted. As soon as they heard the sound, they gave a great shout, and the wall fell down beneath them. Every man went straight up into the city, and they captured it. They devoted all within to destruction, men and women, young and old, oxen, sheep, and donkeys, struck with the edge of the sword. But Joshua said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, "Go to the house of the woman, the prostitute, and bring her out, and all who belong to her, as you swore to her." So the young men went and brought out Rahab, her father, her mother, her brothers, and all who belonged to her. They brought her family outside the camp of Israel. Then they burned the city and all within it, placing only the silver, gold, bronze, and iron into the treasury of Yahweh's house. Rahab the prostitute, along with her father's household and all who belonged to her, Joshua spared alive. She dwelt in Israel from that day, because she had hidden the messengers Joshua had sent to spy on Jericho. At that time Joshua pronounced this solemn oath: "Cursed before Yahweh be the man who rises to rebuild this city Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn he shall lay its foundation, and at the cost of his youngest he shall set up its gates." So Yahweh was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the land. But the sons of Israel committed an offense regarding the devoted things. Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah of the tribe of Judah, took some of the things set apart for Yahweh. Because of this, the anger of Yahweh burned against Israel. Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, near Bethaven, east of Bethel, saying, "Go up and spy out the land." They returned with confidence, "Let not all the people go up. About 2,000 or 3,000 men are enough to strike Ai. Do not weary the whole army, for they are few." So about 3,000 went up, but they fled before the men of Ai. About 36 Israelites were struck down, and the rest were chased as far as Shebarim, struck down on the slopes. The heart of the people melted and became like water. Then Joshua tore his garments and fell face down before the ark of Yahweh until evening with the elders of Israel. They cast dust on their heads. Joshua cried out, "Alas, my Lord Yahweh, why did you bring this people across the Jordan only to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us? If only we had been content to dwell beyond the Jordan. O Yahweh, what can I say now that Israel has turned its back before its enemies? When the Canaanites and all who dwell in the land hear of it, they will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. What then will you do for your great name?" But Yahweh said to Joshua, "Rise, why have you fallen on your face? Israel has sinned. They have transgressed my covenant. They have taken what was devoted. They have stolen. They have lied, and they have hidden it among their own things. That is why Israel cannot stand before their enemies. Unless you destroy the devoted things from your midst, I will not be with you. Rise, consecrate the people. Tell them, consecrate yourselves for tomorrow. For thus says Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, there are devoted things among you. You cannot stand before your enemies until you remove them. In the morning you shall be brought near, tribe by tribe. The tribe Yahweh designates shall come forward family by family, then household by household, and finally man by man. The one taken with the devoted things shall be burned with fire, he and all that belongs to him, because he has transgressed the covenant of Yahweh and done a disgraceful thing in Israel." So Joshua rose early. By tribe they came, and Judah was chosen. By families the Zerahites were chosen. From that family Zabdi was chosen. From his household Achan son of Carmi was indicated. Joshua said, "My son, give glory to Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. Make confession to him. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it." Achan answered, "Truly I have sinned against Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. This is what I did. I saw among the spoil a beautiful cloak from Shinar, 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold weighing 50 shekels. I coveted them and took them. Behold, they are hidden in the earth inside my tent, with the silver beneath." Messengers ran to his tent and found it buried, the silver beneath. They brought it all to Joshua and the sons of Israel and laid them before Yahweh. Then Joshua, with all Israel, took Achan son of Zerah, the silver, the cloak, the bar of gold, his sons, his daughters, his oxen, donkeys, sheep, his tent, and all that he had, and brought them to the valley of Achor. Joshua said, "Why have you brought trouble on us? Yahweh will bring trouble on you this day." All Israel stoned him and his household. They burned them with fire and raised over him a great heap of stones, which remains to this day. Then Yahweh turned from his fierce anger. Therefore the place is called the Valley of Achor to this day. Then Yahweh said to Joshua, "Do not fear and do not be dismayed. Take all the fighting men with you, and rise up, go against Ai. See, I have given into your hand the king of Ai, his people, his city, and his land. You shall do to Ai as you did to Jericho and its king. Only this time you may take its spoil and its livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush behind the city." So Joshua arose with all the men of war. He chose 30,000 mighty men of valor and sent them out by night. He commanded them, "Lie in ambush behind the city not far away and be ready. I and the people with me will approach the city. When they come out against us, as at the first, we will flee before them. They will pursue, and we will draw them away from the city. Then you will rise from your place, seize it, and set it on fire as Yahweh has commanded. See to it, I have given you the charge." The ambush force went to their station between Bethel and Ai, west of the city, while Joshua remained that night with the people. Early the next morning he mustered them and marched up, he and the elders of Israel, and they encamped north of Ai, with a valley between them and the city. He placed 5,000 more men in ambush west of Ai. Thus the forces were set, the main camp to the north, the ambush to the west. That night Joshua went into the valley. When the king of Ai saw this, he hastened, he and all his people, to go out early to meet Israel in battle at the edge of the plain. But he did not know that an ambush lay behind the city. Joshua and Israel pretended to be beaten before them and fled toward the wilderness. All the men of Ai were summoned to pursue, leaving the city wide open. Then Yahweh said to Joshua, "Stretch out the curved sword in your hand toward Ai, for I will give it into your hand." Joshua stretched out his hand, and at once the ambush rose quickly from their place, entered the city, seized it, and set it on fire. When the men of Ai looked back, they saw smoke rising to heaven, and they had no way to flee, this way or that. Then Israel turned back upon them, and those from the ambush came out of the city against them, so that the men of Ai were trapped between Israel on both sides. They were struck down until none survived or escaped. Only the king of Ai was taken alive and brought to Joshua. When Israel had finished killing all in the field and in the wilderness, they returned and struck down the city itself. That day 12,000 men and women of Ai fell. Joshua did not draw back his hand with the curved sword until all had been devoted to destruction. Only the livestock and the spoil of the city Israel took as plunder for themselves, according to the command of Yahweh. Joshua burned Ai and made it a heap of ruins forever. The king of Ai was hanged on a tree until evening. At sunset Joshua commanded him to be taken down, and they cast his body at the city gate and raised over it a great heap of stones, which stands to this day. After this, Joshua built an altar to Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, on Mount Ebal, as Moses had commanded. It was an altar of uncut stones over which no iron tool had been lifted. They offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings upon it. There Joshua wrote on the stones a copy of the law of Moses in the presence of all Israel. All Israel, elders, officers, judges, sojourners, and native-born, stood on either side of the Ark of the Covenant, half before Mount Gerizim and half before Mount Ebal, as Moses had commanded, to bless the people of Israel. Afterward Joshua read aloud all the words of the law, the blessings and the curses, according to all that is written in the scroll of the Torah. Not a word of all that Moses commanded was left unread before the whole assembly of Israel, including women, children, and the foreigners living among them. When all the kings beyond the Jordan heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, the kings in the hill country, the lowlands along the great sea toward Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, they gathered together with one purpose to fight against Israel. But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard, they chose another way. They acted craftily. They took worn-out sacks for their donkeys, cracked wineskins mended with cords, patched sandals, ragged clothing, and dry, moldy bread. With these, they came to Joshua at the camp in Gilgal, and said to him and the men of Israel, "We have come from a far country. Now make a covenant with us." But the men of Israel said to the Hivites, "Perhaps you live near us. How then can we make a covenant with you?" They replied, "We are your servants." Joshua asked them, "Who are you, and from where have you come?" They answered, "Your servants come from a very distant land because of the name of Yahweh your Elohim. We have heard of his fame, what he did in Egypt, and to the 2 kings of the Amorites beyond the Jordan, to Sihon of Heshbon and Og of Bashan. Our elders and all the people of our land told us, 'Take provisions for the journey. Go to meet them and say, "We are your servants. Make a covenant with us." Look at this bread. It was warm when we left home, but now it is dry and moldy. These wineskins were new, but now they are cracked. Our garments and sandals are worn from the long journey." So the leaders of Israel took their provisions at face value, but they did not seek the counsel of Yahweh. Joshua made peace with them, and the leaders of the congregation swore to let them live. 3 days later, the truth was revealed. The Gibeonites lived nearby. Israel marched and came to their cities, Gibeon, Chephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. But they did not strike them, for the leaders had sworn to them by Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. The people murmured against the leaders, but the leaders said, "We have sworn to them by Yahweh, and now we cannot touch them. We will let them live, lest wrath fall on us because of the oath. But they shall be woodcutters and water carriers for the congregation." Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said, "Why have you deceived us, saying you live far away when you dwell near us? Now you are cursed. None of you shall be freed from being servants, cutting wood and drawing water for the house of my Elohim." They answered, "It was told to us what Yahweh commanded Moses to give you all this land and destroy its inhabitants before you. So we greatly feared for our lives and did this thing. Now we are in your hand. Do what seems good and right in your eyes." So Joshua spared them from the hand of Israel, and they did not kill them. That very day he made them woodcutters and water carriers for the congregation and for the altar of Yahweh, a role they held from that day on in the place Yahweh would choose. When Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had taken Ai, destroyed it as he had done to Jericho, and that the people of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, he was greatly afraid. Gibeon was a large city, like one of the royal cities, and its men were mighty warriors. So Adoni-Zedek sent word to Hoham king of Hebron, Piram king of Jarmuth, Japhia king of Lachish, and Debir king of Eglon, "Come up and help me. Let us strike Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and the Israelites." The 5 Amorite kings gathered their armies, marched against Gibeon, and encamped to fight it. The Gibeonites sent word to Joshua at Gilgal, "Do not abandon your servants. Come quickly, save us and help us, for all the Amorite kings from the hill country have gathered against us." Joshua marched up from Gilgal with all his fighting men and mighty warriors. Yahweh said to him, "Do not fear them, for I have delivered them into your hand. Not one of them will stand before you." Joshua marched all night, came upon them suddenly, and Yahweh threw the Amorites into confusion before Israel. Israel struck them with a great blow at Gibeon, pursued them along the ascent of Beth-horon, and struck them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. As they fled down the slope of Beth-horon, Yahweh hurled great hailstones from heaven upon them all the way to Azekah. More died from the hailstones than from the swords of Israel. On that day, Joshua cried out to Yahweh before all Israel, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon, over the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, until Israel had avenged itself on its enemies. The sun stopped in mid-heaven and delayed going down for about a whole day. Never before or since was there a day like this, when Yahweh listened to the voice of a man, for Yahweh fought for Israel. The 5 kings fled and hid in a cave at Makkedah. When Joshua was told, he ordered, "Roll large stones against the cave's mouth and station men there to guard them. But you, pursue your enemies, cut off their rear, and do not let them enter their cities. Yahweh, your Elohim, has delivered them into your hand." When Israel had struck down the armies, so that none remained except survivors who fled into fortified cities, the people returned safely to Joshua at Makkedah. Joshua then commanded, "Open the cave and bring those 5 kings out to me." They brought them out, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. Joshua summoned the leaders of Israel's army. "Come near, place your feet on the necks of these kings." They stepped forward and did so. Joshua said, "Do not fear or be dismayed. Be strong and courageous, for this is what Yahweh will do to all your enemies, against whom you fight." Afterward Joshua struck them down, executed them, and hung them on 5 trees until evening. At sunset he commanded, and their bodies were taken down, cast into the cave where they had hidden, and stones rolled over its mouth remain there to this day. That same day, Joshua captured Makkedah, destroyed it and its king, leaving no survivor, just as he had done to Jericho's king. From there Israel struck Libnah, Lachish, Eglon, Hebron, and Debir. One by one, Yahweh delivered their kings and cities into Israel's hand. Not a single survivor was left. Joshua struck the whole land, the hill country, the Negev, the lowlands, and the slopes, just as Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, had commanded, from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and all Goshen as far as Gibeon. Joshua captured all these kings and their lands in a single campaign, because Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, fought for Israel. Then Joshua and all Israel returned to the camp at Gilgal. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard of Israel's victories, he sent messages to the kings of Madon, Shimron, Akshaph, and to the kings of the north, in the hill country, in the Arabah near Chinnereth, in the lowlands, and along the west near Dor. He called the Canaanites east and west, the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites in the hill country, and the Hivites living under Mount Hermon in Mizpah. They came out with armies as numerous as the sand on the seashore, with many horses and chariots. All these kings joined forces and camped together at the waters of Merom and prepared to fight Israel. But Yahweh said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, for tomorrow at this time I will hand all of them over to Israel, slain. You shall hamstring their horses and burn their chariots with fire." So Joshua and all his warriors came suddenly against them at the waters of Merom and attacked. Yahweh gave them into Israel's hand. They struck them down and pursued them as far as Great Sidon, Misrephoth-Maim, and the valley of Mizpah to the east, leaving no survivors. Joshua did as Yahweh commanded. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots with fire. At that time Joshua turned back and captured Hazor, striking down its king with the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Israel struck down every soul in it with the edge of the sword, devoting them to destruction. Nothing that breathed remained, and Joshua burned Hazor with fire. All the other cities of these kings Israel captured and struck down. They devoted them to destruction, just as Moses, the servant of Yahweh, had commanded. Only Hazor was burned. The rest of the cities, standing on their mounds, Israel did not burn. The people took all the spoil and livestock for themselves, but every human life they struck down until none remained. Joshua left nothing undone of all that Yahweh had commanded Moses. So Joshua took the whole land, the hill country, the Negev, all the land of Goshen, the lowlands, the Arabah, the hill country of Israel with its lowlands, from Mount Halak rising toward Seir to Baal-gad in the valley of Lebanon, under Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings, struck them, and put them to death. For many days Joshua waged war against these kings. Not one city made peace with Israel except the Hivites living in Gibeon. All others were taken in battle, for Yahweh had hardened their hearts to come against Israel in war, so that they should be devoted to destruction without mercy, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua cut off the Anakim from the hill country, from Hebron, Debir, Anab, and all the hill country of Judah and Israel. He devoted them and their cities to destruction. None of the Anakim remained in the land of Israel, except a few in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. Thus Joshua took the entire land, just as Yahweh had spoken to Moses, and gave it as an inheritance to Israel, according to their tribal allotments, and the land had rest from war. These are the kings of the land whom the sons of Israel struck down, and whose territories they took in possession. First, east of the Jordan, from the Wadi Arnon to Mount Hermon, with all the Arabah to the east, Sihon, king of the Amorites who lived in Heshbon. He ruled from Aroer, on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, through half of Gilead as far as the Wadi Jabbok, at the border of the Ammonites. His reign stretched across the Arabah eastward to the Sea of Chinnereth, down to the Salt Sea by the way of Beth Jeshimoth, and southward to the slopes of Pisgah. And Og, king of Bashan, one of the last of the Rephaim. He lived in Ashtaroth and Edrei, and ruled over Mount Hermon, Salekah, and all Bashan, as far as the border of the Geshurites and Maccathites, and half of Gilead to the territory of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of Yahweh, and the sons of Israel struck them down. Moses gave their lands to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh as their inheritance. Then west of the Jordan, these are the kings whom Joshua and the sons of Israel struck down, from Baal-gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir. Joshua gave their land to the tribes of Israel as their inheritance, divided among the hill country, the lowlands, the Arabah, the slopes, the wilderness, and the Negev, the land of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. In all, 31 kings were defeated. Joshua had grown old, advanced in years, and Yahweh said to him, "You are old and advanced in days, yet much of the land still remains to be possessed. This is the land that remains, the territories of the Philistines and the Geshurites, from the Shihor near Egypt up to the boundary of Ekron to the north, all of it counted as Canaanite, under the 5 lords of the Philistines, those of Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, as well as the Avim in the south. There is also the land of the Canaanites, and that which belongs to the Sidonians, reaching as far as Aphek and the border of the Amorites, the land of the Gebalites, and all Lebanon toward the sunrise, from Baal-gad below Mount Hermon to Lebo-hamath, all the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon to Misrephoth-maim, even the Sidonians. I myself will drive them out before Israel. Only you must allot this land to Israel as an inheritance, as I have commanded you. Now divide the land by lot among the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh." But the other half-tribe of Manasseh, together with the tribes of Reuben and Gad, had already received their inheritance east of the Jordan, which Moses, the servant of Yahweh, had given them, from Aroer on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, including the city in the middle of the valley, all the plateau up to Medeba, Heshbon, and all its cities, and the kingdom of Sihon king of the Amorites. Their territory stretched as far as the border of the Ammonites, including Gilead, the land of the Geshurites and Maccathites, all Mount Hermon, and all of Bashan up to Salekah, the kingdom of Og in Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei, one of the last of the Rephaim. Moses had struck them down and taken their land. Yet the Israelites did not drive out the Geshurites and the Maacathites. They live among Israel to this day. To the tribe of Levi, Moses gave no inheritance. The offerings by fire to Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, were their portion, as Yahweh had said. The tribe of Reuben received its inheritance from Aroer by the Wadi Arnon, and the city in the valley, the plateau by Medeba, Heshbon and its towns, Dibon, Bamoth Baal, Beth Baal Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephath, Kiriathaim, Sibmah, Zereth Shahar, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, Beth Jeshimoth, all the towns on the plateau, the kingdom of Sion, whom Moses had struck down, together with the princes of Midian, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, vassals of Sihon. Among the slain was Balaam, son of Beor, the diviner, whom the Israelites killed with the sword. The boundary of Reuben was the Jordan. The tribe of Gad received its inheritance, Jazer, all the towns of Gilead, half the land of the Ammonites up to Aroer near Rabbah, from Heshbon to Ramath Mizpeh and Betonim, from Mahanaim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Sukkoth, and Zaphon, the rest of the kingdom of Sion, as far as the sea of Chinnereth east of the Jordan. The half-tribe of Manasseh received its inheritance from Mahanaim, all of Bashan, the kingdom of Og, all the settlements of Jair in Bashan, 60 towns, half of Gilead, and Ashtaroth and Edrei, the royal cities of Og. These went to the descendants of Machir son of Manasseh, for half the clan of Machir. These were the inheritances that Moses distributed in the plains of Moab, east of the Jordan across from Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses gave no inheritance. Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, was their inheritance, as he had promised them. These are the inheritances that the sons of Israel received in the land of Canaan, which were distributed by Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the tribes. The allotments were assigned by lot, just as Yahweh had commanded through Moses, for the 9 tribes and the half-tribe west of the Jordan. For Moses had already given the inheritance of the 2 tribes and the half-tribe east of the Jordan. But he gave no portion to the Levites in the land, only towns to dwell in and pasture lands for their flocks and herds. The sons of Joseph had become 2 tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. Thus, just as Yahweh had commanded Moses, the Israelites divided the land. Then the sons of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, spoke to him. You know the word that Yahweh spoke to Moses, the man of Elohim, about you and me at Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moses sent me out from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I returned with a report that was true to what was in my heart. But my brothers who went up with me caused the people's hearts to melt with fear, while I fully followed Yahweh my Elohim. That day Moses swore, saying, The land where your foot has walked shall be your inheritance and your children's forever, because you have fully followed after Yahweh my Elohim. Now behold, Yahweh has kept me alive, just as he promised, these 45 years since that word was spoken, while Israel wandered in the wilderness. Here I am today, 85 years old. I am still as strong today as I was in the day Moses sent me. My strength is as it was then, for battle, for going out, and for coming in. So now give me this hill country that Yahweh promised that day. You heard then that the Anakim were there, and that the cities were great and fortified. If Yahweh is with me, I will drive them out, just as Yahweh has promised. Then Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave Hebron to him as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite to this day, because he fully followed Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. Now the name of Hebron was formerly Kiriath Arba. named after Arba, the greatest man among the Anakim, and the land had rest from war. The first lot fell to the tribe of Judah according to their families. Their territory stretched southward to the wilderness of Zin, to the edge of Edom. The eastern boundary was the Salt Sea, and the western boundary reached the Great Sea with its coastline. The description of Judah's borders encircled a vast and varied land, desert, mountains, valleys, and fertile plains. In the midst of Judah's inheritance, Joshua gave Caleb son of Jephunneh a special portion, according to the command of Yahweh. Hebron, formerly called Kiriath Arba, named after Arba, the greatest man among the Anakim. Caleb drove out the 3 sons of Anak from there, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai. From there he marched against Debir, once called Kiriath Sepher. Caleb made a challenge. Whoever attacks and captures Kiriath Sepher, to him I will give my daughter Achsah as wife. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's own kinsman, seized the city, and Caleb gave him his daughter Achsah. When she came to him, she urged him to ask her father for land. Dismounting from her donkey, she made her request directly. "Give me a blessing. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also springs of water." So Caleb gave her the upper and the lower springs. This was the inheritance of Judah. Their cities spread across the Negev, the lowlands, the hill country, and the wilderness. Villages fortified and unfortified, from Beersheba in the south to Gaza on the coast, from Lachish and Hebron in the highlands to En-Gedi near the Dead Sea. Yet one stronghold remained. The sons of Judah could not drive out the Jebusites dwelling in Jerusalem, and so the Jebusites continued to live there among the people of Judah, remaining until that very day. The lot for the sons of Joseph began at the Jordan near Jericho, rising from the waters there and moving westward into the hill country up toward Bethel. From Bethel it passed to Luz, then on to Ataroth, and further westward until it reached lower Beth-horon and Gezer, ending at the Great Sea. Thus the descendants of Joseph, Manasseh, and Ephraim received their portion. The territory of Ephraim was marked by its boundaries, stretching east and west, with additional towns set apart for them within the allotment of Manasseh. These cities, with their surrounding villages, became the inheritance of Ephraim's families. Yet Ephraim did not drive out the Canaanites dwelling in Gezer. Instead they lived among them, subject to forced labor, and remained there until that day. The allotment for the tribe of Manasseh, Joseph's firstborn, was divided among his clans. Machir, the firstborn of Manasseh and father of Gilead, a man of war, had already received Gilead and Bashan east of the Jordan. But the rest of Manasseh's descendants received their portions west of the Jordan, according to their families. The clans of Abiezer, Helek, Asriel, Shechem, Hefer, and Shemida. Now Zelophehad, a descendant of Manasseh, had no sons but only daughters, Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. These women came before Eleazar the priest, Joshua, and the leaders of Israel, reminding them of Yahweh's command through Moses that they too should receive an inheritance among their brothers. At Yahweh's word, Joshua granted them an inheritance within the tribe of their father. Thus, 10 tracts of land fell to Manasseh, in addition to the territory east of the Jordan, because the daughters of Manasseh received an inheritance along with the sons. The boundaries of Manasseh's land stretched from Asher to Mikmethath near Shechem, southward to the settlements of En-Tappuah, and down to the Wadi Kanah, meeting the sea. Southward lay the land of Ephraim, and northward that of Manasseh, with the sea as its border. Their territory touched Asher on the north and Issachar on the east. Within Issachar and Asher, Manasseh also held certain towns, Beth-shean, Ibleam, Dor, Endor, Tanakh, and Megiddo, with their surrounding villages. Yet the Manassites were unable to drive out the Canaanites who lived there, for they were determined to remain. When Israel grew strong, they subjected them to forced labor, but they did not drive them out completely. Later, the people of Joseph came to Joshua and said, "Why have you given us only one portion and one lot, since we are a numerous people, blessed by Yahweh until now?" Joshua replied, "If you are so numerous, go up into the forest and clear land for yourselves there, in the territory of the Perizzites and the Rephaim, since the hill country of Ephraim is too cramped for you." But they answered, "The hill country is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites in the valleys at Beth Shean, its surrounding villages, and in the valley of Jezreel have iron chariots." Joshua said to the tribes of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, "You are indeed numerous and strong. You shall not have only one portion. The hill country will also be yours. Though it is forested, you will clear it, and it shall be yours to its farthest borders. And you will drive out the Canaanites, even though they have iron chariots and are strong." The whole congregation of Israel assembled at Shiloh, and there they set up the tabernacle of meeting. The land lay subdued before them, but 7 tribes still had not received their inheritance. Joshua said to the people of Israel, "How long will you put off going in to take possession of the land that Yahweh, the God of your fathers, has given you? Choose 3 men from each tribe, and I will send them out to survey the land, writing it down by portions. Judah will remain in the south, and the house of Joseph in the north, but you shall divide the rest into 7 parts. Then I will cast lots for you here before Yahweh." He reminded them again that the Levites had no portion, for Yahweh himself was their inheritance, and that Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh had already received their land east of the Jordan. So the men went, passed through the land, and wrote it in a scroll in 7 divisions. They returned to Joshua at Shiloh, and there, before Yahweh, Joshua cast lots for them and apportioned the land. The first lot fell to the tribe of Benjamin, whose territory lay between Judah and Joseph. Their borders ran from the Jordan by Jericho, up into the hill country, past Bethel, down through the valleys, and back to the Jordan. Benjamin's inheritance included cities of renown: Jericho, Bethel, Gibeon, Mizpah, Ramah, Beeroth, and even Jerusalem itself, the city of the Jebusites. In all, 26 towns with their villages were given to the families of Benjamin. Thus, Benjamin's inheritance was secured between Judah to the south and Joseph to the north, in the heart of the land. The second lot came out for Simeon, for their clans. Their inheritance was taken from the portion of Judah, for Judah's share was too large. Thus, Simeon's land lay within Judah's territory. They received Beersheba, Moladah, Hazar-Shual, Ziklag, Beth-Lebaoth, Sharuhen, Ayin, Rimmon, Ether, Achan, and their surrounding villages, reaching as far as Baalath-Beer and Ramah of the Negev. This became the inheritance of Simeon's families. The third lot fell to Zebulun. Their boundary ran to Sarid, stretched toward Maralah and Dabasheth, and reached the brook near Yokneam. It passed eastward to Chisloth-Tabor, went on to Dabereth, Japhia, Gath-Hepher, Rimmon, and Neah, then curved northward to Hanathan, ending at the valley of Ifta-El. Their cities included Kattath, Nahalal, Shimron, Idalah, and Bethlehem, 12 towns with their villages. This was the inheritance of Zebulun. The fourth lot fell to Issachar. Their territory encompassed Jezreel, Shunem, Chesulloth, Happaraim, Anaharath, Rabbith, Kishion, Ibez, Remeth, En-Ganim, En-Haddah, and Beth-Pazez. The boundary touched Tabor, Shahazimah, and Beth-Shemesh, and ran to the Jordan. 16 towns with their villages belonged to Issachar. The fifth lot fell to Asher. Their land stretched along Helkath, Hali, Beaton, Akshaph, Alamelech, Amad, and Mishal. It reached Carmel on the west, and Shihor-Libnath turned east toward Beth-Dagon, touched Zebulun in the valley of Ifta-el, and extended to Beth-Emek, Nile, Kabul, Ebron, Rehob, Hammon, and Canaan as far as Great Sidon. From there it turned back to Ramah and to the stronghold of Tyre, then to Hosa, and ended at the sea. Their towns included Ummah, Aphek, and Rehob, 22 towns with their villages. This was Asher's inheritance. The sixth lot fell to Naphtali. Their boundary ran from Heleph and the oak at Zaananim, through Adami-Nekeb and Jabneel, as far as Lacham, reaching the Jordan. It turned westward to Aznoth-Tabor, touched Zebulun to the south, Asher to the west, and the Jordan to the east. The fortified cities included Ziddim, Zur, Hamath, Rakkath, Chinnereth, Kadesh, Edrei, En-Hazor, Iron, Migdal-El, Horem, Beth-Anath, and Beth-Shemesh, 19 towns with their villages. The seventh lot fell to Dan. Their towns included Zorah, Eshtaol, Irshemesh, Shalaban, Aijalon, Ithla, Elon, Timnah, Ekron, Eltekeh, Gibbethon, Belath, Jehud, Bene Barak, Gath Rimmon, Mejarkon, and Rakon, with the territory opposite Joppa. But when the territory proved too small for them, the Danites marched north and attacked Leshem. They captured it, put it to the sword, took possession of it, and lived there. They renamed the city Dan, after their ancestor. This became their inheritance. When the division of the land was completed, the people of Israel gave Joshua son of Nun an inheritance among them, as Yahweh had commanded. They granted him the city he asked for, Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim. He rebuilt the city and settled there. So the land was apportioned, tribe by tribe, at Shiloh before Yahweh, at the entrance to the tent of meeting. With this, the division of the land was finished. Yahweh spoke to Joshua, saying, "Appoint the cities of refuge as I commanded through Moses, where anyone who kills another unintentionally and without premeditation may flee. These cities shall be a refuge from the avenger of blood. When the fugitive reaches one of these cities, he shall stand at the gate and present his case before the elders. They shall admit him into the city, give him a place to live among them, and protect him. If the avenger of blood pursues, the elders must not hand over the manslayer, since the killing was unintentional and without prior hatred. The manslayer shall remain in that city until he stands trial before the congregation, and until the death of the high priest, then serving. Afterward, he may return to his own town and house, the place from which he fled." So they set apart Kadesh in Galilee, in the hill country of Naphtali, Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah. Across the Jordan, east of Jericho, they appointed Bezer in the wilderness plateau from the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead from Gad, and Golan in Bashan from Manasseh. These 6 cities were established for all Israel and also for the sojourner dwelling among them, that anyone who killed another unintentionally might flee there, and not die by the hand of the avenger of blood until standing before the congregation for judgment. The leaders of the Levites came to Eleazar the priest, to Joshua son of Nun, and to the heads of the tribes of Israel. They spoke to them at Shiloh in the land of Canaan, saying, "Yahweh commanded through Moses that we should receive cities to live in, with pasture lands for our livestock." So, at Yahweh's command, the Israelites gave the Levites cities from their own inheritance, with surrounding pasture lands. The lot was cast, and the families of the Kohathites received 13 cities from Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The rest of the Kohathites received 10 cities from Ephraim, Dan, and half of Manasseh. The Gershonites received 13 cities from Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and the half-tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. The Merarites received 12 cities from Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. From Judah and Simeon, The sons of Aaron, the priestly line of Kohath, were given their portion. Among them was Hebron, Kiriath Arba, a city of refuge for the manslayer with its pasture lands. The fields and villages around Hebron, however, were given to Caleb, son of Jephunneh. In all, the priestly descendants of Aaron received 13 cities. The remaining Kohathites received their share from Ephraim, Dan, and half of Manasseh, including Shechem, in the hill country of Ephraim, a city of refuge, along with Gezer, Beth-horon, and others, 10 cities in all. The Gershonites received their cities from Manasseh, Issachar, Asher, and Naphtali. These included Golan in Bashan, a city of refuge, and Kadesh in Galilee, in all 13 cities. The Merarites, the last group of Levites, received their cities from Zebulun, Reuben, and Gad. Among them were Bezer in the wilderness and Ramoth in Gilead, both cities of refuge. Altogether, 12 cities. Thus, in total, the Levites received 48 cities with their surrounding pasture lands. Each city had its own open lands around it, and so Yahweh gave Israel the whole land that he had sworn to give to their ancestors. They took possession of it and dwelt in it. Yahweh gave them rest on every side, just as he had promised. Not one of their enemies could stand before them, for Yahweh delivered them all into Israel's hand. Not a single word of all the good promises Yahweh had spoken to the house of Israel failed. Every word came to pass. Joshua summoned the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. He praised them for their obedience. You have kept everything that Moses, the servant of Yahweh, commanded you, and you have obeyed my voice in all I have instructed. You have not abandoned your brothers these many years, but have been faithful to the command of Yahweh your Elohim. Now that Yahweh has given rest to your brothers as he promised, return to your tents and to the land that Moses gave you across the Jordan. But be careful to keep the law of Yahweh, love him, walk in his ways, keep his commands, cling to him, and serve him with all your heart and soul. Joshua blessed them and sent them away. To the half-tribe of Manasseh, half had received their inheritance from Moses in Bashan, and half from Joshua west of the Jordan. As he dismissed them, Joshua reminded them to share the abundance of spoil they had gained, silver, gold, bronze, iron, livestock, and garments, with their brothers. So they departed from Shiloh in Canaan, and returned to their own land in Gilead. But when they reached the Jordan, at Geliloth, the Reubenites, Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh built a large altar there, imposing in appearance. When the rest of Israel heard of it, they said, "Behold, the tribes east of the Jordan have built an altar at the frontier, in the land of Canaan by the Jordan on Israel's side." The whole congregation gathered at Shiloh, prepared to go to war against them. But first, they sent Phinehas son of Eleazar the priest, along with 10 chiefs, one from each tribe, to confront the eastern tribes. They said to them, "What is this treachery against the Elohim of Israel? You have turned away from Yahweh by building for yourselves an altar in rebellion. Was the sin of Peor not enough for us, from which we are still not cleansed, and for which a plague came upon the congregation of Yahweh? Now will you turn away again, bringing his wrath upon us all? If your land is unclean, come over to Yahweh's land, where his tabernacle stands, and take your portion with us. But do not rebel against Yahweh, nor set up an altar apart from the altar of Yahweh our Elohim. Do you not remember Achan son of Zerah, who took the devoted things? His sin brought wrath upon all Israel. He was not the only one who perished for it." Then the Reubenites, Gadites, and half-tribe of Manasseh answered, Elohim, Yahweh, he knows, and let Israel know. If we built this altar in rebellion to turn away from Yahweh, or to offer burnt offerings and sacrifices upon it, may Yahweh himself call us to account. But we did this out of concern. We said, in the future your children might say to our children, you have no share in Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. Yahweh has made the Jordan a boundary between us and you, so your children might cause ours to stop fearing Yahweh. Therefore we built this altar, not for offerings or sacrifices, but as a witness between us and you, and between our generations after us, that we too will serve Yahweh with burnt offerings, sacrifices and peace offerings at his altar before his tabernacle. If ever they question us, we can say, see the copy of Yahweh's altar that our fathers made, not for offerings, but as a testimony between us. Far be it from us to rebel against Yahweh by building another altar for sacrifices besides the altar of Yahweh our Elohim before his tabernacle. When Phinehas and the chiefs heard this, they were satisfied. Phinehas said, Today we know that Yahweh is among us, since you have not been unfaithful to him in this matter. You have delivered Israel from Yahweh's wrath. They returned to Shiloh with their report, and the Israelites rejoiced. They blessed Elohim and no longer spoke of war against the eastern tribes. The Reubenites and Gadites named the altar Witness, for it testifies between us that Yahweh is the one, Elohim. After many days had passed, when Yahweh had given Israel rest from all their surrounding enemies, Joshua had grown old and advanced in years. He summoned all Israel, the elders, heads, judges, and officers, and addressed them. I am old and have reached the end of my days. You yourselves have seen everything that Yahweh your Elohim has done to all these nations before you, for it was Yahweh himself who fought for you. See, I have allotted to you by your tribes the lands of the nations that remain, along with those I have already cut off, from the Jordan to the great sea toward the west. Yahweh your Elohim will continue to drive them out from before you. He will expel them, and you will possess their land, just as he promised you. Therefore, be very steadfast to keep and to do everything written in the book of the law of Moses. Do not turn aside from it, neither to the right nor to the left. Do not associate with these nations that remain among you. Do not even mention the names of their gods or swear by them. Do not serve them or bow down to them, but cling to Yahweh your Elohim, as you have done to this day. Yahweh has driven out great and mighty nations before you, and not one of them has been able to stand against you. A single man among you has put 1,000 to flight, because Yahweh your Elohim has fought for you, as he promised. So take diligent care of yourselves. Love Yahweh your Elohim. But if you turn back and join yourselves to the nations that remain among you, intermarrying with them and becoming entangled with them, then know for certain that Yahweh your Elohim will no longer drive out these nations before you. They will become a snare and a trap for you, a scourge to your sides and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from this good land that Yahweh your Elohim has given you. Now behold, I am about to go the way of all the earth. You know with all your heart and soul that not one word of all the good promises Yahweh your Elohim gave you has failed. All has come to pass for you, not one word has failed. But just as every good thing that Yahweh promised has come upon you, so also Yahweh will bring upon you every evil thing, until he has destroyed you from this good land that he has given you. If you transgress the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, which he commanded you, and go and serve other gods and bow down to them, then the anger of Yahweh will burn against you, and you will quickly perish from the good land he has given you. Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel at Shechem. He summoned the elders, heads, judges, and officers, and they presented themselves before God. Joshua said to all the people, Thus says Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, long ago your fathers lived beyond the river, Terah, the father of Abraham, and of Nahor, and they served other gods. But I took your father Abraham from beyond the river, led him through all the land of Canaan, multiplied his offspring, and gave him Isaac. To Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. Esau I gave Mount Seir as his possession, but Jacob and his children went down to Egypt. Then I sent Moses and Aaron, and I struck Egypt with plagues. and brought you out. When your fathers came to the sea, the Egyptians pursued them with chariots and horsemen. They cried out to Yahweh, and he placed darkness between you and the Egyptians. He brought the sea upon them and covered them, and your eyes saw what I did in Egypt. You lived in the wilderness for many days. I brought you into the land of the Amorites east of the Jordan. They fought against you, but I gave them into your hand. You took their land, and I destroyed them before you. Then Balak, king of Moab, arose and sought to fight against Israel. And he summoned Balaam, son of Beor, to curse you. But I would not listen to Balaam. Instead, he blessed you, and I rescued you from his hand. Then you crossed the Jordan and came to Jericho. The leaders of Jericho fought against you, as did the Amorites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hittites, Girgashites, Hivites, and Jebusites. But I gave them into your hand. I sent the hornet before you, which drove out the 2 kings of the Amorites, not by your sword or bow. I gave you a land on which you had not labored, cities you had not built, and vineyards and olive groves you had not planted, yet you enjoy them. Joshua then declared, Now, therefore, fear Yahweh and serve him in sincerity and faithfulness. Put away the gods your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve Yahweh. If it seems evil in your eyes to serve Yahweh, then choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your fathers served beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. The people answered, Far be it from us to forsake Yahweh to serve other gods. For it is Yahweh who brought us and our fathers up from Egypt, out of the house of slavery, who did great signs before our eyes, and preserved us in all the way we went, and among all the peoples through whom we passed. Yahweh drove out before us all the peoples, including the Amorites who lived in the land. Therefore, we too will serve Yahweh, for he is our Elohim. But Joshua said to the people, You cannot serve Yahweh, for he is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions or sins if you forsake him and serve foreign gods. He will turn and bring disaster upon you after doing you good. The people replied, No, we will serve Yahweh. Joshua said, You are witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen Yahweh to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. Then put away the foreign gods that are among you, Joshua said, and incline your heart to Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. The people replied, We will serve Yahweh our Elohim and obey his voice. So that day Joshua made a covenant with the people at Shechem. He established statutes and ordinances for them. Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God. He then took a large stone and set it up under the terebinth near the sanctuary of Yahweh. Joshua said, This stone will be a witness against us, for it has heard all the words Yahweh has spoken to us. It shall be a witness against you, lest you deny your God. Then Joshua dismissed the people, each to his inheritance. After these things, Joshua son of Nun, the servant of Yahweh, died at the age of 110 years. He was buried in the territory of his inheritance at Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gosh. Israel served Yahweh all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived him, those who had known all the works Yahweh had done for Israel. The bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought up from Egypt, were buried at Shechem, in the portion of land Jacob had bought from the sons of Hamor for 100 pieces of silver. It became the inheritance of the descendants of Joseph. Eleazar son of Aaron also died, and he was buried at Gibeon, the town of his son Phinehas, in the hill country of Ephraim. The book of Joshua ends with Israel established in the land, every promise of Yahweh fulfilled, and a covenant renewed at Shechem. Joshua's death at 110 years, along with the burials of Joseph and Eleazar, marks the close of an era. The generation that saw the mighty hand of Yahweh in Egypt, the wilderness, and the conquest of Canaan. But the story of the Bible does not end here. The next generation will rise and their faithfulness will be tested in the days of the judges. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it with others who would be interested. See you in the next video.